Tuesday, June 24th. I'm Adam Walsh, and this is The Signal. Today on the show, Green Thumbs, this hour is for you. Gardening Day is here, and so is Michael Murray. The lines are open for questions and all things grow season related. All right. It is 24th of, 24th of June.
Yep.
But my lawn is yellow. That seems weird.
Well, we've had a fair bit of heat, fairly dry. Not unusual for a lawn to go dormant.
Right.
When we see these kind of conditions. And that's okay in my mind because water's become more and more of an issue. And I think it's going to become a bigger issue as we go along. The thing to do with the lawn right now is, let it go yellow on you. Don't be putting water on it because it takes a lot of water to green it up.
Yeah.
And I think it's better to go with nature than not.
Well, when you get into a mess of fighting nature, you're going to probably lose.
All the time.
Every time.
Yeah, all the time.
It's like if you're not wanting the tide come in and just standing up being angry at the ocean. It's still going to come in.
That's right. Yeah, you can't stop it. So better to go with the flow.
So, folks, Michael Murray there, Murray's Garden Center, Portugal Cove. If you, as always, right, it's everything from tips, if you'd like them. We've got them. Michael has them. If you just want to talk about your gardens, great. If you want to talk about the weather, if you want to talk about anything grow season related, whether it's what's not working, what is working, ambitions, or if you're pulling things back because you were overly ambitious, we want to hear about all of it here on every Tuesday during the grow season on The Signal. So the lines are open, 709-722-7111, 1-800-563-8255. You can text us, 709-327-8206, The Signal at cbc.ca for emails. And thanks to Jamie Fitzpatrick and Bernice Hillier for filling in for me, and also for the Signal team, Arlette Lazarenko doing all the great work of keeping things up and running while I was off for a week and a day. And also a little show note for you folks. I'm back. So I'm back tomorrow. We're doing a show actually from Corner Brook. You're on notice. We're in Corner Brook live, The Signal, Thursday. Bernice Hillier's hosting Friday because I'm taking a couple ferry rides with John Pike because the Canada Games torch is coming to the island and also going to go up to Labrador. So we're going to ride the ferry, Marine Atlantic, with the Torch folks and present that show to you with some great voices and to hopefully, be part of some of the anticipation, the build-up for the start of the Canada Games here this summer. That show will be just after Canada Day, Wednesday of next week. There you go. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. I'm just making a couple of notes here.
Notes are good?
Yeah, I'm just a couple of things looking ahead that I'm anticipating. Well, 24th of June, if you're keeping a garden or a vegetable garden or putting in annuals, it's time. It's time to plant.
We did some planting just yesterday.
Yeah.
So we were away and we got back, and then we had a small raised bed last year for growing some perula leaves, which we've talked about on the show before, right? Great Excellent. For Korean cuisine, great for salads, the really interesting flavor. And yesterday, bigger raised bed is started, and we put some stuff. Yeah, so here we go. But it's like Swiss chard. I think it's spaghetti squash we put in.
Yeah.
And I just also like eating the flowers that come from these. You put do a bit of a kind of like a flour water, cook it in oil, right? It's very nice. Yep. Going to get some lettuce probably at the end of this week.
Yeah. Good thing to get in now. Lots of it.
Yeah, just trying to stuff it all in to get it all to grow. Yeah. Plus, there's last year's herb garden has come back to life with lemon thyme.
Yeah.
We even saw there's some little dill plants coming back, which I was like, look at you coming back.
Well, it was a real soft winter. Yeah. We didn't have much snow, and I suspect that may come back to bite us with pests that have overwintered because of the soft winter. Also, no doubt, many of you begin to realize that because we didn't have a lot of snow, our forests are dry, our gardens are dry.
Yeah.
Water's a real issue in my mind. It's going to get more of an issue. More and more, we're paying attention to conserving water, collecting rainwater, using rain barrels, trying to channel water to collection zones so we can keep water for irrigation, trying to use less water by using more drip systems. So yeah, it's going to be an issue that I think we're going to have to pay attention to. The weather we're seeing in Toronto, Montreal, that heat wave, I don't know if it's coming here, but I expect we're going to get some of it sometime.
Well, with that, right, where we've already had, you look at the fire, forest fire warnings, right?
Yeah.
The fire bans.
Yeah.
What we've in Conception Bay North, right? So you already have impacts there, like houses lost this year.
Yeah. Very early in the season.
And then badger.
Yeah.
Plus always the concern in throughout Labrador.
Yeah.
And this is where we are. And yes, we're talking like this is a gardening day. And yes, we talk about growing and everything else, but climate change and weather and the range of that is always part of the conversation. And I appreciate you bringing up the water bit because this is something, you're looking ahead of what's on the mainland, what could come.
Yep.
And giving folks the idea of, hey, let's be ready. Let's think about water conservation and collecting rainwater when we can and all of that.
Yeah.
Because if you've got your vegetable beds, and if it is part of your summer food plan, you got to have water for it.
Got to have water, and that's why you'd rather spend that water on something productive like vegetables or even the enjoyment of ornamentals. The lawn, I put third on the list.
Yeah, well, because it's such a water sink, right? Yeah. Like it's so much water in order, and like we just said, then it's the losing battle of you're just not going to get there, and all it is, it's a color thing of green to not, as opposed to these other bits we're talking about.
Yeah, indeed. I think the other thing too is as we sit back and wait. Already, I'm kind of concerned to see the number of insect problems that are starting to emerge early. Mm-hmm. If you look around, there's so much in bloom today. The rhododendrons, which are, blooming so early outside here. As I was coming out, seeing lots of the various types of spireas in bloom now. Mm. So it's an unusually early season, dry. And that usually bodes for insect problems later on. So being vigilant and watching and being on top of them and acting quickly is the best thing. I was out at a dinner party over the weekend, and a call came in from one of my cousins saying, "Well, I've got some kind of insect eating my honeysuckle." And I said, "Yeah, it sounds like honeysuckle sawfly. And it's going to defoliate it if you don't act now." Like, what do you mean now? Like now?
Like right now. Go outside now and do it.
Outside, just get some soap, soapy water, and just spray underneath the leaves, on the leaves, and give it a good drenching. And I got a report back. I've saved the plant. So acting quickly, being vigilant, understanding how quickly insect problems can become, decimate a garden in a matter of hours. It's important to be vigilant.
Yeah, and then you've got, in the last few weeks, talk about the Japanese beetle.
Yeah.
Invasive insect and doing damage, right?
Big damage.
And so in this changing time we're in for pests earlier, different pests, invasive species, all of this kind of going on on the island and in the province in Labrador, depending, stuff that has not happened before.
Yeah. You take in Western Canada where we've had all those fires, the Asian longhorned beetle has had a big role in decimating the forest out there. Here we go now. For years and years, we've taken lots of precautions. We were the only province without having Japanese beetle. Suddenly it arrives. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when, and it's arrived. And it's interesting to see the kind of action that the Department of Agriculture is taking to address this at Government House. I hope they're successful. It's a terrible pest. It's hard to control, and I hope they can eliminate it. They're certainly going out of their way to attack it. And so much of it, like Asian longhorn beetle or Japanese beetle, it usually comes with the transport of goods, plants, things being moved around, and undoubtedly it has finally arrived.
It is gardening day here on The Signal. I'm Adam Walsh. Michael Murray from Murray's Garden Centre, Portugal Cove, is here with us for the full show. for this gardening day. If you've got questions, you can text us. We just had a text come in. The text line is 709-327-8206. If you want to call us to ask questions, get tips, talk about your gardens, give us an update on your grow season here as we are hitting late June, 709-722-7111. 1-800-563-8255. Emails thesignal@cbc.ca. Here's a text. When is the best time to trim a boomerang hydrangea, before it blooms or after? Also, how much do I trim off? It is 3 years old. It has bloomed every year. That's Norma from Old Shop.
So I'm pruning hydrangeas now. I'm cleaning them up because this is a good time. You can see where the new growth is coming. You'll see where the dead growth is, the spent bloom if it's hanging around. Yeah. That can be trimmed off now. So this is the opportunity now to set it up for fall bloom. So yeah, this is a good time to clean it up.
Cool.
Prune it lightly, down to a bud, good wood, and off you go. Little feeding now wouldn't hurt as well. Little 6-12-12 compost would help. Interesting you talk about hydrangea. When I go back a ways at being involved with plants and gardens now. And when I go back to my 20s and starting, hydrangea was a very tough plant to establish. It didn't overwinter well. Now it thrives. It does very, very well. And it's amazing to see them all over the place thriving. But at the same time, while that's happening here, the origins of much of the hydrangea hybrids and selections that we see today came out of the Midwest of America. And there in that part of North America, hydrangeas are not able to survive very well because of drought, high temperatures. So the kind of moist kind of situation, warm situation we have here as we see our weather trending more to a more moderate climate, less of the Arctic influence in our climate, we're going to see plants that we never saw do very well here. And in parts of North America, we're going to see less of them because it's just too hot, too dry.
The conversation over the last few years on this show, for gardening specific, folks talking about, well, we've got grapes now that we never could get before.
Exactly.
And now they're here. And vines that are producing fruit that up till like 4 or 5 years ago, they never saw it. There's so many indications, right, around stuff. I remember when we did a story, gosh, a few years back now, 2021 maybe, and I interviewed someone talking about the Torn Gap Mountains and seeing the vegetation go up further over the years, which was wild when you think about it, and the impact there. And oftentimes when we talk about northern communities being on the front lines of climate change, and what you can see, that is like clear and present.
So, and that's interesting because it's a complex kind of thing because on one side, say in Goose Bay, good sandy soil, if you can mix in some organic matter, peat, which is an abundance there, change the pH a bit, now you've got a situation where you grow a lot of produce. And that's happening in Labrador. Yeah. We go back 30 years, it wasn't so easy. I think the climate change has that positive side for remote parts of our province, but at the same time, the loss of permafrost, the loss of ice, the connection of ice to seals, to polar bears, other
traditional way of life, the highway system,
getting around. It's a challenge, and it's going to change culturally how people relate to the land and plants and animals. So, there's flux now like I haven't seen it in my lifetime.
How's this? So down around where you're to, Portugal Cove, how are things looking for the grow season? Because we talked about it being a bit dry, right? Lawns turning yellow. So how's the grow season going?
Very good. I mean, we're getting radishes. It's again such an amazing thing. Radishes, bok choy, lots of different types of lettuce. We're building a new facility now, which is, we call it the 365 house. And the 365 house is we're hoping that we can produce green material, green like any kind of lettuce related or herb or things like that we can produce year round to feed into the cafe and to feed out to the public. I think we're going to see a sea change, and it's already taken place. So there's more local food production than I've ever seen before. And then we're moving away from what I call the Jig's dinner menu of turnips, carrots, potatoes, and people are far more adventuresome in what they're eating.
Oh, stuff has changed over the years.
Fantastic, and probably better for us in the long run. I know. At Christmas time, are we going to get a little salt meat? And I was poo-pooed and said, no salt meat, Dad. We're not doing it.
Well,
so rebellion.
It's
probably for the better.
I mean, probably. I enjoy a world where yes, we've got our jigs when we want it, and then but also all the other great stuff too.
Oh yeah,
and I'm of a time when growing up in the '90s. Late 90s, about like I hit 20 at year 2000. Yep. So I've seen where it was like when we first got a couple sushi restaurants.
Yeah.
And also like I remember one time when I was living in South Korea coming back and a relative was surprised because I was using chopsticks. And so someone was like, whoa, look at you. But then things changed to the point where I think most people now, if I talk about like my wife making kimchi, people know what that is. Yep. And it's interesting to see how things have changed here with food over the years. I've talked a bunch on the show before of like when I was growing up in the 80s, mushrooms came from a can. And then all of a sudden somewhere along the way in the 90s, they were fresh. They became fresh.
That's right. It's amazing. And the other thing that's happening with this, which is wonderful to see as well, is the number of people who are coming in from other parts of the world here. What a big cultural difference it's having. Geez, who would think that we'd have an Asian grocery store, an African grocery store, a Caribbean store, and then we'd have all of these choices to be able to weave into our meals or diet. So, yeah, the cultural component, I'm delighted to see that as well. I think it really refreshes. It's a hybridization of our own culture, which is substantial and to be celebrated with others. And that hybridization gives you what I call an interesting mix of food, culture, custom. It's changing.
We had Mitun in, the owner for SpiceX for Black Marsh Road, and you can get jigs as well as butter chicken there, and it is like it's such a symbol of where we are.
Yep.
And culture, and food, and space, and then we can have the bigger conversation of food security and growing, and this grow season, and then conserving water, and all of it is connected.
Yeah, you'd like to think that, and it's interesting. We were just chatting about your travels and whatnot, and you see as you travel. Other cultures, other places, and how important and interesting food is from their perspective as well, and how that weaves into that experience,
Well, and this connection to nature was one of the things before the show when you and I were talking. I mentioned I was at this gallery in Paris, l'Orangerie, and Monet had given the French state his water lily.
Oh, yeah, fantastic.
These big, long paintings.
Yep.
And the point at the end of the First World War was to go in there and have a moment of reflection, meditation, call it whatever you want. Peace, especially coming out of that, First World War.
Yeah.
But today it's gardening day on the show, and and he's painting, like we're talking water lilies.
Yep.
And that's the bit. You're looking at his interpretation of part of nature for this moment of reflection after something that most people can't understand.
Yeah. And then there's what I call the wild meat. The wild meets the cultivated, the forage tours, Sean Dawson. Those experiences for people are very real and interesting. I've had my first taste of nettle pesto the other day.
Oh, nice.
And so I said, wow, that's interesting. Has a nice green thing. You wouldn't think it was, nettle, stinger nettle. And that's interesting to see that people are reaching out and collecting mushrooms, looking at edible plants from the wild, and then how the wild comes into the garden, to the cultivated part of it. I'm always fascinated about that interface between the wild, the cultivated, and that interface is interesting for me. For example, just coming in here, all the dogberries, great bloom of dogberries across this whole region now. And I think we're going to have a lot of dogberries. What that means, I don't get into the myths of it too much. But it's wonderful to see. Yeah. And it bodes for what I thought was a very good year last year, because obviously the blooms that are coming forward early in the season were set last year. Now they're coming forward, and here we go again. So it's lovely to see that continuum.
You were listening to Gardening Day. It's an enhanced conversation around Gardening Day today with myself, Adam Walsh, here on The Signal. Michael Murray is here with me. If you want to join the conversation, if there's something we're talking about that speaks to you, or if you've got questions for tips or just want to talk about your own garden and how things are doing, 709-722-7111, 1-800-563-8255. You can text us, 709-327-8206. Emails thesignal@cbc.ca. Here's an email. Over the past couple of summers, I've been getting more and more ants' nests in my lawn. What is the solution to rid the lawn of ants and deter them from returning? Will a soapy water solution do the trick? I like dish soap. That's from Daryl.
Okay. Now, I had the same problem last year. And so I knew that borax, or boron, was a thing that was poisonous to ants. So I basically got some borax. You can buy borax. It's an old cleaner, boric acid or borax. You can buy it at Canadian Tire. You can buy it at any hardware store. It's around. It's an old cleaning powder. So you take the borax and you mix about 1 part, 3 parts sugar in a kind of a fairly loose kind of mix. No water. Then I took pop cans and beer cans, and I got a funnel and start filling up, just not filling up, just in the bottom, just covering the bottom. And I must have taken I had 10 or 12 fairly substantial ants' nests around the property. And so in proximity, I dug a little hole, stuck the pop can in with this solution of borax and sugar in it, countersunk it with the open end sticking out, and off I left it. Susan says to me, looks like the garden's turned into a collection of beer and pop cans. Looks weird. I said, yeah, I agree it looks weird, but hang on now, And so as we got to the end of the season, all the ants' nests disappeared. So what in essence happens, the sugar mixed with the borax, they pick it up, they bring it back to the nest, they feed it to the queen. She loves the sugar, but sadly she's getting poisoned by the borax as it goes. And so it was so effective. Susan says to me afterwards, boy, we killed we killed them all. We killed every nest. I said, so now you're getting remorse about we've done something against nature. Yeah, she said, it was so effective. It really worked. And I said, yeah, that's when you take steps like that. That's what happens.
That's what happens.
So the spring, she's going down through another part of the garden. There's an ant's nest here. I said, there you go. It's coming back again. Now, are we going to attack it? No, she said, I think we can live with one ant's nest.
One ant's nest is fine. Yeah, you don't want to be overrun.
That works well.
So borax.
Mixed with sugar, probably equal amounts, small little bit in the bottom of the can, sink it in close proximity to the nest, and let nature take its course.
And folks, oftentimes when we talk about tips on the show, and sometimes people are like, okay, did I get all of that? We podcast the show, right, on the CBC Listen app, and it's up on YouTube for CBC Newfoundland and Labrador. And I will say we're at the halfway point roughly of the show. If you want to go back later to re-listen to this tip about ants, that's where you can find it. So don't worry. This show, every show still exists somewhere afterwards. It's not like in the olden days where just you speak into the ether and it just goes. Right? The record is there. Let's go to the phones. We've got Lynn on the line from Adams Cove. Hi, Lynn.
Hi, I'm actually from St. John's, but calling about our Adams Cove property.
Okay.
So not gardening in a good sense,
No.
but we were, I guess, a victim of the Adams Cove fire recently, and our seasonal home is standing, but we did lose our 150-year-old beautiful cedar barn, and also of about the 15 acres of land that we own, maybe about 10 of the acres were burnt drastically. So my question, I guess, Mr. Murray, is as we're out there cutting trees that are dead and doing cleanup, several questions. Number one, if a tree is black with soot on the outside and appears to my naked eye that it's dead, yet when we cut it, it looks quite alive on the inside, should we wait another year before we do anything with the damage that we currently have, or start cleaning up now?
Well, that's a good question. So much in fire, in a fire situation, it scorches, say some of the outside of the plant. I would think what you should do here is, if you've got green tissue underneath the bark, cut back some of wherever you see dead, like when you prune into a branch, or cut into a branch, you'll see that green ring around. That's the cambium, and that's where the plant basically grows from. If you can see that green tissue just underneath the bark, there's life. And if you've got life, then that's a great place to begin. Cutting back any of the dead as you go through the season, and it'll probably take you, with that amount of area, it's going to take you a couple of seasons to clean it up. But I really think that what you can do is cut back lightly, and then as the season progresses, and you'll see, I would think in the wake of that fire, you're going to see, by the time we get into September, October, you'll see more buds starting to form. You can continue your practice of cutting back, and wherever there's life, nurture it, let it come on, and clean up the dead wherever you can. In the fall, you might take some of that, and October, November, a fire to burn off any of that material. But often with fire like that, it rejuvenates. The succession after fire, usually you'll start off seeing birch, you'll start to see alder, you'll start to see the beginnings of some white spruce start to emerge. Some of the plants that are survived and are still viable, they'll start to reemerge. So, yeah, it's shocking to see what fire does. But again, working by pruning out, cleaning up, trying to identify plants that are still viable by looking at the tissue under the bark, you'll be able to determine, that guy's got a shot at it. So let him come on. And I have a feeling, I'm always fascinated by fire, the results. Some severe fires, very high heat, really destroys, gets into the turf. The one that's going on now out in Badger, it sounds very much like it's got into the turf. It's still smoldering. That's a very hot fire. Fires that sweep along very quickly, they don't do as much damage, but they sure knock back and certainly have a very negative impact. But I take my time, start looking where life is, trying to nurture it, clean up, and you may be surprised how quickly it all comes back again.
Yeah, well, that's promising, and you're right. Our fire did go through, within like a 36-hour period, and I am hoping that they're not all gone, because our road in particular, I think there's 8 homes that were lost. So we're still fortunate that our seasonal home is actually standing. It's a miracle. But 2 other quick questions, if I can.
Sure, of course.
That's promising. The second one is, as we go up the street, we had quite a bit of protection from the trees that were there. There are beautiful, I don't know how tall, aspens and a lot of spruces and a couple of maples. Of most of those that are burnt, can we, I'm going to wait and see and get my husband to do that bark thing, but can we take trees, established trees from other areas and transplant into that area, the soil of the front on the street that's burnt now?
Yes, and not right now, because now all of the leaves have emerged, So you've got, we're out of dormancy, but you will go back into dormancy again in October. So if you've touched on a couple of species there, aspen is a wonderful species. In wet areas, it can be rooted fairly easily. A willow is another one that'll do that. So willow, aspen, those are two good choices to put back into it. Maple's pretty strong, and transplanting. I mean, we just at home we moved around a big maple, but we did it in dormancy. So when the leaves come off, you can move plants fairly readily using heavy equipment if they're big rooted plants. I always like to stick to small plants, things that are probably 2-3 feet high, taking them from the wild. Making sure where you're going to plant them is prepared beforehand, soil's readied, and then lift the plant, move them to the new location, plant them in, and always water after that, even in dormancy, because the water gets the soil in around the roots, cuts down on some of the air pockets you might have. But yeah, it's a challenge. I'm wanting to go up there to see the fire. I haven't had a chance yet, but I will. Because I'm interested in seeing how much damage there was. I'll even have a look around the soil and native soils to see if there's damage down around the root systems of plants. Some of the plants, for example, blueberry, wouldn't occur except for fire being part of that cycle. So these are some of the opportunities that are in it. But I got to say, you're describing a kind of a bleak scape, but don't fear. Nature will make it come back.
Yeah, it's the fireweed is up about, I'd say, 12 inches already.
Good.
And I invite you at any point, we're the last house on the lane on the right-hand side, and most people, I know we're on air, but I invite you at any point to come out, and I'm sure my husband would love your input. One other question, I'll leave it at. That's what we were going to do. We were going to have been talking about like 3-foot-ish trees,
yep.
But you're saying best to wait now until the fall for that?
Yes.
Okay. And so one last question, if that's okay, and sorry to dominate.
Sure.
We had some amazing, very, very large patches of wild roses.
Yes.
And they are all gone. But there is growth, okay? So can I, now that there is growth, and it's actually been wonderful because our little dog has found about a dozen burnt favorite balls that he's now retrieved and are still workable. Can I go in with my gloves and clippers and clip the dead wild rose bushes that are like 3-4 feet high to allow the new ones to grow up better?
Yes, that'd be the right practice. Okay. If it's big hedgerows of it, getting a gasoline or electric clippers or shears will make the job easier, faster. Yeah. Don't be afraid to cut it down to maybe a foot to 18 inches above. Roses are resilient. Again, this fire, because it happened in the spring, very early, or reasonably early, fair bit of moisture still in the soil. So I have a feeling throughout that region, it was probably warm weather, dry conditions, wind, fast-moving fire. And I suspect that most of the root systems of these plants are surviving and will come back again. But that practice of cutting back the dead tissue, now you'll get breaks from the bottom again. So hard work, but the rewards will be certainly worth it. So focus on cleaning out the dead everywhere you can. Checking underneath the bark to see if there's life in the wood. If there is, then you're halfway there.
Yeah, perfect. Well, listen, and it is hard work, and work that I wasn't planning on this summer, but it's a special place out there and a special community, so it's worth doing it. Thank you for your advice.
No problem, anytime.
You're out in Adams Cove. Come look for the Henleys.
I'll have Henleys?
Yeah, Lynn Henley there.
Yeah.
Okay. I will do that.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Lynn.
Thank you. Bye-bye. It's amazing when fire hits like that. It's demoralizing. Yeah. It's painful. It takes something away that's so precious. And it's painful in every sense of the word. But then the backside of it is the resilience of nature, how it will recover, come back. That'll be the interesting part to see, and how you take intervention by pruning back, looking for that live wood. And then as it comes on, it doesn't hurt to a little bit of fertilizer back and to give that nutrient back to it again, So I'm fascinated by that. I don't know, all my life I've been forest succession is a part of forest ecology, and I have had lots of opportunities in my life to go and visit those sites with fascination to see the next generation of plants.
Well, and we're in a time where we talk about things like adaptation, mitigation, and also it's rebuilding.
Yep.
Right, regrowing.
Yeah.
Looking at it, what is viable, and how do we get stuff back?
And then, is there an opportunity in that, as we're talking about wild again, to the cultivated side? On the cultivated side, is this an opportunity to introduce some other things into the mix that will make it more interesting, more biodiversity in it? And that's part of that opportunity. Willow, I'm not nuts about willows. It's superstition. That's an Irish superstition. I remember bringing in laurel willows, healing them in the meadow, and my dad says, "What do you got there? You got Sally trees planted on the farm." The Sally trees, the genus of willow is Salix, so Sally trees.
There you go.
Salicylic acid comes from willow as well. It's an old pain enemy, scrunching it up. And old settlers have it. So the superstition is if you plant willow on the land, in the next generation, the farm will go out of the family name and someone else will have it. So after my father died, I went up and I saw the willows. There was only about 5 or 6. We had moved them on to other jobs and things. And I said to some of my crew, I said, I'm not taking any chances here. So why don't we move the willows, the 4 or 5 willows, just outside the gate, and they're down there flourishing. And it came up the other day, there was willows coming into the nursery, and I said, "Oh, there's the Sally trees."
The cultural conversations are always fascinating. Right? It's like, no, we got to move them. Why? Well, it's an Irish thing.
It's an Irish thing.
Let's go to the phone lines again. Gina MacArthur's on the line from Portugal Cove. Hi, Gina. How you doing?
I'm good, Adam. How are you?
Good. Hanging out, talking on the radio.
Where we usually find you. Kismet that it happens to be a gardening day, because just as the signal was signing on today, my husband texted me a photo, and I said, "Oh no." He said, "They're back. The sawfly larvae are taking over our pine tree again."
Yes.
Oh.
So we've been up to Murray's because we live just down the road, of course. So we popped up a few years ago and we bought some, I think it's safer soap or insecticidal soap. And we've been treating the tree every year in the spring and in the fall.
Yeah.
But they still seem to come back every spring.
Well, can you see? You can see the larva? You can see the larva now?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he picked them off this morning.
Okay, so
I'm just wondering, is it worth continuing to try to save this poor tree?
Yes. That's the first answer. Second of all, try if you can use a product, safer soap with Trounce is a formulation, but the safer soap, I believe, with a mild insecticide, a pyrethium. Now, pyrethiums come from chrysanthemums. There's both synthetic types and organic types. I don't see the difference chemically between them. So right away, if you can, if you've got a chemical called Ambush or safer soap, to treat them today.
Yes.
Immediately.
Okay.
Right on the bugs, and it'll knock them down. If you want to go more to the organic side, using BTK is an organic type of pesticide registered for organic use. That'll work as well. But they're easy to control if you act quickly.
So is it possible to get rid of them all together, or will they just keep coming back every year?
Well, stay on. The thing is to stay on them now, and because the larval stage now, they're going to continue until they weave a cocoon. Then they'll go dormant, drop to the soil, and then the next generation will come again. Those larvae now, if you can focus on getting all of them or as much as you can, you will certainly reduce the population. If the trees have, I've had them where I've reached a point where I've said, no, I can't keep it up, so I sacrifice and let the tree go. But on other times, I've worked to try to keep them, and they do get over it. It's kind of this is kind of a cyclical insect that comes and goes. Again, my advice is act now. Treat as much as you can from the top of the tree down. How big is this? This is an Austrian pine?
I'm not sure exactly what kind of pine it is. It's good size. 15 feet tall.
Okay, it's treatable. That's treatable. So what you can do is get on the ladder, go right from the top right to the bottom. Any dead wood, prune it out, and
Just like decorating a Christmas tree, but different.
not as much fun.
We do decorate it every year for Christmas.
Oh,
by the
my
way.
God!
Oh, there
Well,
you
you
go.
got to save it.
Well, we'll give it a try.
Okay.
Thanks, Gina.
Thanks so much for the advice.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow.
Is there the same amount of arguing though? If you're just because like the lights, Christmas time, how it could be a stressful occasion. for the
Could
tree?
be. I think it's really the cyclical nature of the insect and the weather conditions.
Yeah.
Dry, relatively dry, hot spring. This is the time when they appear, but they're so easy to knock back. But you've got to act because they'll defoliate. What they do is they'll feed on the new buds, and this we got to focus. Wherever there's new growth, and as it's coming, there's new growth on all the evergreens. It's a great time to be vigilant of that issue. Yeah. It's going to be a problem with, budworm, same thing. It's going to be a problem there. So being on top of it and using a larvicide, that could be as easy as soap. But,
Get at it.
Get at it.
Stop listening to the show and get at it right now. Right, do that, or listen for another 15 minutes, then do it. I've been I've been not getting to emails, and now we are getting to them.
Okay.
This one's an email plus a picture, so I'm going to turn around I have 2 retaining walls on the side of my house. I want to plant flowering shrubs to act as a pretty safety barrier so people don't forget the retaining wall is there and walk over the edge. Oh, that's good. The depth of soil on top of the wall is very shallow, only a few inches, so I will build a shallow bed, maybe 1 foot high, on top of the retaining wall to add a bit more depth of soil. What shallow root shrubs would be best to plant here, or am I best just going with flowers? Full sun in this area starts about mid to late morning, lasts until sunset.
Perfect.
And here's the back. There you go. So the picture we're looking at, folks, it's the back of a house, and you've got that retaining wall there with grass around it. Well, that's a great description, Adam. But Michael, you can see this.
The easy solution there. Right away, there's 2 choices for me, and when I look at that, is a hedgerow of what I call rugosa rose or shrub rose. Rugosa rose, you'll see it all over Newfoundland, various varieties of it, white, green, pink. Very tough, very dependable. The lady up in Adams Cove was just talking about her shrub roses. So it's a plant that you don't want to mess with it because it's thorny. So, it's if a child comes up against it, it'll be only once because
Life lesson.
Life lesson. That's right. Another plant that would work in that situation, if you want to spend a little more money and get a little fancier, is right away I think about Hicks yew or dense yew planted on 2-3 foot centers to form a hedgerow of yew. Likes dry conditions, shallow soils. Likes chalky soil, lots of limestone to get them going. Those are 2 choices. So I'd go with the rugosa rose. There's various Hansa is a wonderful one. I've used it at the top of a wall. Stands up very well in very shallow soils.
Nice. Someone wants your opinion on a shrub called broom. I have one, but I'm thinking of removing it, as I have read it's considered invasive. I see it in other gardens, and others report they have no issue with it, quote-unquote, taking over.
Yes, I know broom. And if you're in British Columbia or the Pacific coast or other marine climates, soft, it becomes a real nuisance, and it's a plant that is really banned from cultivation in some areas. Here, it's not as invasive, but who knows as time goes on. We opened the program, we talked about the changing climate, and broom might be. The other thing about broom, it tends to be fussy. I've seen them flourish, get very tall, 6-5 feet, and bang, just die. And I don't know if the death is due to harsh winters, winter kill, but moving it around, not easy plant to transplant, in particular if it's tall. So I wouldn't be alarmed about it being invasive here, but who knows where we are 5 years from now, 3 years, who knows?
Right. Things change.
Things change, and they're constantly changing now.
I'm going to keep, there are a bunch of emails today, so we will keep going through, and there's only 10 minutes left. Just listening to your gardening column. Love your show. Thank you. Could you please ask Mr. Murray to provide some recommendations for hardy flowering shrubs for a bed along the side of a patio that is exposed to wind with 100% sun exposure? The shrubs should be no taller than about 3 feet in height. Any good recommendations would be greatly appreciated. That's from Paul Fitzpatrick.
Spireas are always good.
Yeah.
Various types of Weigela are good, the dwarf types. Wine and rose comes to mind. It's kind of a dark red color. Barbary is another one that comes to mind. So there's Potentilla, another one. Not as tough. Yeah, I think those are good choices.
Cool. Some of my strawberry flowers are small. The leaves are a paler green than the rest, possibly the daughters of the others. I put kelp on last fall and this spring. Should I have also used a granular fertilizer?
Yeah, it sounds when you got yellow leaves, you got low nitrogen. It's a little on in the season now, flowers on. This is not a good time to apply fertilizer. I would wait until, if you get fruit set, after the fruit set's done, depending on the variety, that's a good time to do a renovation. So basically tucking in any of the runners, taking out anything that's spotted or yellowed, and then a feeding of 6-12-12 fertilizer cultivated in and around it. That usually late August.
Okay. We got a note from Labrador City. After 20 years of growing these trees and having wonderful blooms every year, they are very sparse this year. What do I do to make them beautiful again? And the subject of the email is lilac trees help. So 20 years of growing lilacs, having wonderful blooms every year. They're very sparse. What can I do to make them beautiful again? Or are they slowly dying? Yep. That's from Jane Anthony. And then here's a picture. You're looking at
pruning.
Yeah, you got to prune it.
You got to prune. You got like at the bottom, you've got fairly good growth. You got the midway, you've got dead or dieback, and on top you've got it coming again. I would bring the first whorl, that lower whorl of lilac is in good shape, or reasonably so. I'd cut it back hard. So I'd cut it back from the height of where it is to half. Yeah. And I'd focus on where that flurry or flush of green is. I'd take around the base. I'd get that grass away from it on the bottom. I'd also get some compost, limestone, and a little bit of feeding now. 6-12-12. And limestone 6-12 compost, but pruning back hard right now. Hard to kill a lilac. They're pretty resilient. They're tough. They're zoned.
So do that pruning now.
Right now.
Okay.
Do that today.
Yeah.
Get out with the loppers. Cut it back hard.
The lilac's still out around St. John's. And you can smell them.
Fantastic.
It's so good.
Yeah, fantastic.
The Newfoundland, and when I say I'll just say for my area of growing up, right? Growing up in Mount Pearl, CBS, and now, we're looking at this from Labrador City, but it's that Newfoundland Labrador, that smell of summer.
Now, that particular plant doesn't look like a common lilac.
No, it looks different, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's a Preston lilac is what it is. So Preston lilacs are hardy, tough, no smell though. That's the downside.
Really?
Profuse in bloom. Lots of different colors inside from the various. James McFarlane is a variety that comes to mind right away. But that's a Preston lilac, and they get spindly like that. Just cut back hard, feed, and you got them. He'll come back. It looks fine.
Prune hard. There you go, Jane. Thank you very much for that email, and I hope everything is going well in Labrador
Love
City.
The pictures.
Yeah, it's so great.
1,000 words.
I love where we are with this because we love the calls are great, and then also you can either call and send a picture. You can just email, send a picture, but
anytime all of us who serve here on your program here, to encourage your listeners to send in a picture, a photo.
Yeah, snappity
with
snap
the
helps.
Question, make some difference to being able to relate and come up with answers.
Like you look at the email that we had just about with the house. Right? And just asking, I tried to describe that, and it was terrible. But then you looked at the picture,
I got it
right away.
Yep.
Right? I was like, it's the back of a house. I'm like, oh, good job. That was great, Adam.
Picture's 1,000 words.
Yeah, exactly. Here's one. Good show as always. Wondering if there's a solution on getting rid of red root, or sometimes called September mist. Not sure on the proper name, but it sure grows fast.
Yeah, that's a nuisance. It's a bit of it's an invasive plant. I take two tactics with it. First one is early in the spring when it first pops up. It's funny, Sean Dawson harvests that.
I was like, not surprising. Sean eats it. Yeah.
Sean eats it. I haven't tried it, but I'm game. But when it's young and it first emerges, you can use a pesticide. Roundup works. You may have to do it twice. If you don't want to do that, then you're going to have to go to digging down the roots. And getting the roots of that plant means you're going down 2-3 feet to be able to get all of the root and get it out. Means getting a backhoe, a small excavator, or a good strong back to dig it out, because it is the devil's own. It'll stay on forever and spread. So it's either be on top of it early when it first comes in true leaf using a pesticide, or you take it on and dig it. But again, in both circumstances, the earlier in the season, I mean, I was coming here, I just noticed patches of it as I came along. It's now 4 or 5 feet big. Trying to tackle that now. You could do this. You could cut it back really hard, right to the ground. You'll get new, that's new growth coming again. You could use Roundup then on that new growth. When it's big like this, it takes a hell of a lot of chemical. It's not really wise to be that much chemical in the environment. But Roundup does work, and you may need 2 or 3 applications and total coverage. And I don't like doing that, but I have from time to time been known secretly to use a little Roundup.
At night.
Right. I don't tell anybody. I did a little bit this spring.
Yeah.
And my sons, whenever they see me out there with my mask on and my spray suit, they, oh no, he's had it again. But
sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Sometimes you got to do.
And it, like you said, you're it's not this over. You're just looking at it and making a decision.
The world's mostly gray for me.
Yeah. Well, gray is a good zone to operate in, because there can be more understanding.
That's right.
In that zone.
Tolerance.
Right. I think. Let me see. Oh no, there's another one that I was like, no, we're done. We're not done.
Good questions.
Arlette's typing it. We got it. Oh, whoa! This is a great picture. I love.
Okay, good picture.
Remember, I was waiting. How to? Here's a backyard pic for a compare and contrast. So we've got a picture of the backyard from Fred.
Yeah.
May to now, and this is.
You mean May is the top one? Now. Okay, I got you. Yes. There's something in bloom throughout. White. What is that?
Oh, the white. I'm not sure what those flowers are, but it's like a garden on bust. What this is, it's the comparison from the start of the gardening season on the show to now. And this ties into what you were just talking about and what I was thinking about as well. To go from nothing to an abundance of everything, whether it's weeds to leaves to lilacs, you name it. It is quite the thing every year.
Yeah.
It's
a lot of work.
I just love taking it all in.
Yeah, this is a gardener, and
it's such a great backyard.
It's such a great there's a lot of diversity there, a lot going on. Is there a question with it? Because it's an admirable garden.
And we've got one more text below this. What did you say, sorry? Arlette was talking to me.
I was just wondering what the context of the question.
Oh, no question. This is just a follow up of here's what it was a little while ago
and what it is now.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful idea. The succession of garden.
Yeah, and we've got 30 seconds for this. Adam, I look forward to every summer Tuesday lunchtime so I can listen to the gardening signal. Thank you so much. I have 3 prairie fire crab apples. 2 of them are planted at the edge of a meadow with full sun and adequate water because they are next to a bog. They are not doing well and are 10 years old but only 8 feet tall. There is a lot of die-off each winter and they do not have a lot of flowers or leaves. Do these crab apples need something they're not getting? And we've got 35 seconds.
I think your issue there might be the bog, proximity to the bog. Wet soil, wet feet for the plant. Maybe cut back hard, take off the dead wood.
Yeah.
I've tried to find a better site. If they're not that big, you could move those to a more upland, more drier site. I think it's water is the issue.
Okay. Thanks for that. Thanks for this.
No problem.
Hanging out, having a chat, gardening day in the summer. Folks, Michael Murray, everyone. If you've got thoughts for us on this show or any show, The Signal at cbc.ca. Tomorrow, different show, different topic. In a year of 3 elections, here's a question for you. What does a healthy democracy look like? What does it mean? What do you think a democracy should look like? How are we doing in this province? How are we doing in this country? What's working? What needs to change? We've got folks lined up for a chat on this tomorrow, and we're taking your calls. Don't miss the show tomorrow on The Signal.